first encounter. So that sums up his first encounter. And then he had a second try with in Panama in 1981, and it was with Omar Torrijos, and it was pretty much the same situation. And so what happened was he heard of Roldos's his assassination attempt, and he talked to his family, and he said that he's probably next. So it's the same sort of the same scenario for him as it was for Roldos, and that was John Perkins went in and they talked to him as well, and he tried to overthrow him, and corrupt him, but it didn't work. He said that he wanted to be rid of the U.S. and the controlling of the U.S. And he wanted to be free. He wanted his country to be free, and he did. Basically, John Perkins, he failed again, trying to overthrow him, but he still managed to give the Panama Canal back to the people. So he accomplished his goal, and he knew that he was probably going to be assassinated, and he was. So that's a pretty terrible thing. Now, he was assassinated the exact same way as well. It was a plane crash. So, and then they did recently, in Venezuela, with the politician there. I believe it was in 2002. They tried to do that to him, and they tried to overthrow him, and they tried to assassinate him, and basically the power of the people that were behind the politician in Venezuela was very, very strong. So he was uncorruptible, and so I guess they gave up on that, for that country. And then that brings us to Iraq, and basically, John Perkins, he explains that the Iraq, is first of all, they tried to go after Saddam Hussein years ago, and with the 3 stages that they have, and the 3 stages, in order to corrupt or to gain resources from countries. The first step is the economic hitman, which is fairly reasonable. They try to throw a bunch of money in their face, bribing and stuff. And if that doesn't work, then the second thing is they call them jackals. They're the assassins. They go in and they try to kill them. So that's the second part. And then the third part is they would do the last thing, which is bring in the military. And apparently they did that with Saddam Hussein years ago, and so they tried to try to overthrow him. It didn't work. Then they tried to kill him, but his security was very, very good, and so it was very, very difficult for him. And then they tried recently, again, now, in 2003. And basically they went in and they did the whole job. They tried to overthrow him again, they tried to kill him again, it didn't work, and so then they went in with the military, the type of 9/11 type of stuff all over again, and they got him. So they finally got what they wanted, and so when they got in there, they have control of the oil, and also it was really good business for the Americans. Like for instance, Halliburton. They're a construction company, and they were like rebuilding Iraq, and so they can make huge amounts of money because they are reconstructing, they're reconstructing the country, so-called reconstructing the country for the benefit of the people. So anyway, so that's the whole deal. He explains it in much more detail. So then you would think, who is running the show, and I think it's the President of the United States, and it's not. because he's a government official, and so they have people that are the CEOs of companies that are the emperor, because it's their empire, and now they have who's the emperor, and the emperor is all these companies, all the people that own big companies. They look like they can be the vice president of something, but next thing you know, they could be elected to be the next president. So you can tell that everything coincides with each other. So it's very, very corrupted and very, very it's likely to happen. So they give more examples. But anyway, so John Perkins, he calls this the corporatocracy, and basically that's the collaboration of all the companies, and taking over these countries and whatever, and controlling them and taking over these countries. They call that globalization, and which is because you've heard the word globalization before. It's like linking the whole world together, but now there's a new term for new definition for globalization, which means they're not bringing the world together, they're taking over the world. And most people, in other countries, people know about this stuff, but in America, Canada, U.S., we don't know at all. We have no idea that we survive reaping the benefits off of other countries that are less fortunate. So basically what they do is they go in and they change the rules of the countries, and in order to maximize profits. And that's the reason why they're doing all this. So they change the rules, such as they devaluate their currency. That way it's super cheap. If they're not able to pay the debt that they owe, or the interest that they owe, they ask to sell us your resources for very cheap or whatever. Because and if you look around, that's exactly what it is. If you have the sweatshops in China or Taiwan and all that, and they have so many people there working, and when we buy it, it's pennies. It's pennies for us, and when we sell it, it's hundreds of dollars. So they're just bringing in the profits like crazy. So I know you've heard of all this before. The sweatshops, it's not good, and the same thing with outsourcing. Outsourcing is another thing. People in America, or whatever, they're starting to lose jobs. Well, they realize that they can outsource. They can outsource to Mexico, or now they can outsource to India. They can pay them cheaper to do the same job that in America.